Hello, everybody. Welcome to session 2 of the new eTIP platform training. Session 2 is going to build upon session 1, which really covered a lot of the basics, going over the main menus in the new platform. Session 2 will build off of session 1. We'll go over the Projects tab, how to edit a project, how to submit and save and recall a project. And we'll also learn about some of the differences between submitting an amendment and an update. And we will also get into the brand new reporting tab, which has several new reports in this new platform. But just to center us here, starting out, when you log in, you will always land at this dashboard page. This is the main sort of home page of the new platform. You'll log in and you'll see it has project delivery and programming. Now, project delivery has to do with the status of certain projects. This is sort of the revamped quarterly status updates process that was a spreadsheet before. It's now embedded into eTIP, and we will go over more about this feature later in the session. The programming tab. This is where you're going to be going most of the time. This has all of the projects, and all the projects that show up here are those that you have been granted permissions to see, whatever your role is at your particular agency. You may see more or less depending on what parameters have been set. For example, if you represent a certain county, you might only be able to see those county projects. But to get started, let's go ahead and click on this programming. Let's just go to total projects here. All right. So again, just to sort of refresh on this menu very quickly, that was discussed in project session 1. We have the list of projects here, all 2,475 of them. And then we also have the advanced search feature here on the left. This is where you're going to be filtering through to get to find the projects that you want to find and filter down from this large list the projects that you want to get to. Additionally, we have these statuses here on the top here, and we will sort of get into that once we go through sort of the submission process, but you can also filter that way. All right, so let's go ahead and find one project here to dig into. All right, so let's say I'm wanting to select a project in order to begin editing it. Now, again, as I mentioned at the top, one of the main differences between the old eTIP platform and the new eTIP platform is this concept of making an amendment and making an update. So on this first tab, the programming tab, the things that you might change on this tab or edit, those are going to be an amendment. These are going to be having to do with the funding information and change reasons and maybe things relating to conformity. All that stuff is going to be submitted as an amendment. All this other stuff here, all these other tabs, which we will get into, these are considered updates. And we can go in and edit these at any time by clicking edit and make the corresponding change, hit save, and it's done. For all these updates on these tabs, you can go into eTIP at any time. It doesn't have to occur within the traditional amendment cycle. If you're making changes on this programming tab, having to do with, formal or admin amendments, it would have to go through the formal amendment process. So that is a kind of a split that's been made in this new platform. All right, so just diving in, let's say we want to do an amendment. So we're going to hit amend projects. It's going to pull up this menu here. We're going to select a plan revision. In this case, I'm going to do the current tip, 25 to 29, and plan revision. This pertains to whether you want to put it on a formal amendment and an admin amendment for FHWA or an admin amendment for FHWA. Or excuse me, FHWA or FTA. I'm just going to do a formal amendment. Now, change reason. This you may recall from the old eTIP platform. Just going to select the reason that we're going in and making an amendment. These are separated out based on category. You can also search if you just want to search a keyword like price or cost, excuse me. You see it pulls up all the cost related things. So I'm just going to select one of the reasons here. You can also specify any additional reasons, and you want to enter in a narrative. Note that this field is required, and I'm just going to say cost change. Type in whatever you want, but also note that this stuff is public facing, so keep it succinct, keep it professional, but also detailed to where someone knows what's going on. So I'm going to hit amend project. All right, it says amendment revision successfully created. Okay, and while it loads here, again, this is a test environment, so sometimes it can be a little bit funky. We haven't yet gotten to our full live environment yet. I'm going to just click, let's see, click away and then click back just to see what's going on here. All right. All right, let's try this one more time. Okay, and it's loaded. So now you'll notice these two buttons change. We now have the option to go in and make the edits as we see fit. And then when we're done, we would hit save changes. So again, we're going to stay on this programming tab. We have information about the project here. We can change the title. We can change the description if we wanted to. We can change the project type. Again, these are imported from the old eTIP, so these are all the same project types. Again, all these drop downs you can search. Set the agency, the work types, again, are the same as the old eTIP. Location, you can set the system, whether it's highway or streets or transit. Again, you can go in and change this information as needed, especially if it involves conformity or modeling. All right, this programming information section. This is one of the main changes from the old eTIP platform. So it looks a little bit different and it's a little bit revamped. Okay, so just like we had before, we have the columns here with fiscal year, fund type. We have some ID numbers here, AC status, and then we get into the phases of the project: engineering, right away, construction, etc., and the total all the way here on the right. And to slide to see more, just grab this bar down here and slide. Now, let's say you want to see more columns than what are shown here. Just hit this choose columns drop down. And let's say I want to also see the PPS number that are associated with these line items. I can hit that. Okay, I want to see the section number. You can do that, hit as many as you want. And now you see that the PPS column is showing up here. And it's in line with these line items. Now on the left here, we have the fiscal year. Let's say we want to change one of these fiscal years. We're just going to change it to 28 and change this type of funding. And a helpful feature about this new platform is it highlights the changes that you make. So you can see in orange, it was 2007. Now it's 2028. It was STP local. Now it's STP shared. So it's a really nice feature to quickly see in orange what you've changed, or if someone else is reviewing your work, they can see that as well. Now you can set some of these IDs. Let's say I want to associate this PPS number with this particular line item, and we'll get into later how you can add additional project IDs. That's in a later tab in this project edit session. Let's say I want to add a new line item. I'll hit add row. You see it opens up this new blank row. Having these fields, you have to fill these fields out. They are required. You won't be able to submit the project and save it if you have any fields that still say required, left empty. All right, so let's say we want to add this as 2029. We want to do CMAC. And let's say we want to do construction 1 million. All right. So we can add that in. Additionally, if you wanted to change it, you can go and select something else. Another feature that I really like about this new programming information section is this match calculator. So this match calculator, if you toggle it on, it will open up a little menu. So it says, enter your data to calculate the programming information, match splits, and adding new rows. So this is a handy tool where if you enter in the type of funding and the total amount, it'll help you calculate, and it inherently knows what the match requirement, the federal and the local match requirement is for that, and it'll calculate the dollar amount associated with it. So let's say again that my total amount is $2 million. Primary fund is CMAC. You see it's already updated this primary amount, which would be the federal. And then we have the match amount. We'll do local, go into local funds. Let's just do local funds here. And see it's calculated that the match amount would be 400,000 because that's 20% of the total amount. And then if you enter in the fiscal year that you want it to be on and the phase, it will actually hit, and you hit add funding, it will add it in as a line item down here to your programming section. So very handy feature that will help you keep your match amount straight and just quickly add it in. And you'll notice the CMAC is together here with the local funds. This little arrow here, you'll notice there's a little right angle kind of keeping these two together. That just means that they are linked. And you'll notice if you hover over it, it says unlink this row from CMAC. That means if it's linked, that means wherever you move the CMAC, the local funds will follow. If you click unlink, then they will just be individual and be separate. But because the one is a match for the other, they were automatically kept associated. If you do want to associate them together again, just hover over this this arrow. See, it's blue now, and it says set this as a child of 2029 CMAC. So you can click that, and now they are together again. Now we can also move our line items just by clicking on this little thing here and dragging it down, and you notice that the CMAC and the linked local funds moved together. All right, so this is definitely a handy feature. Now let's go ahead and keep moving down here. So this has a summary section of all our dollars separated out by fiscal year and by fund. And the change reason details. So again, this is what we selected earlier when we opened the amendment. You can add to it if you want to. And again, this is comparing it to what the previous project revision was. All right. Now let's go ahead and hit save changes because we're done with the amendment on this page. Now, once we hit save, it says changes have been saved. And now you'll notice that this blue button has turned into submit for review. So currently it is a draft and we want to submit it for review. That means it will be submitted to CMAP for review. If we wanted to keep editing it, we could, but we'll just submit it for right now. And you'll notice if we go to this pending review tab, these are projects that are pending review that have been submitted. You see our project is here, pending review. It has been submitted. You'll notice now it says it gives us the option to unsubmit, which we can if we want to. Let's say we made a mistake and we want to keep editing it. We could do unsubmit, hit that, and it says unsubmitted, status reverted to draft. But let's just go ahead and again, submit it for review. All right. Now let's go through the remaining tabs here. And again, these are what you would call updates. So we don't necessarily need an amendment to edit these tabs. Okay. All we have to do is hit this edit button and make the changes. So the obligation tab, this is pretty similar to what was in the old eTIP, just it looks slightly aesthetically differently, but all this information is coming from FEMIS, the obligation summary. The map configuration has been revamped. So let's say we want to map this project. We would hit edit. And now we can zoom in to where the location is. We can also search using that find address or place search feature. But we're going to zoom in here and just, let's say we want to set a point. Now we can either hit a point, draw a point. We can do a line, and which is good for doing stretches of road because you can snap it to road, which you can toggle on and off. And you can also do a polygon if you want to do a region. So let's just say we want to set this point. It's set the point. And now we can hit save. And it will save that mapping location. And just a quick note, before you move on to the next tab, you'll want to remember to hit Save Changes before leaving the tab, because sometimes your changes won't save if you don't hit save on that page that you are on. So IDs, let's hit edit. We can edit the context here if we wanted to. And here's where we add in different project numbers, the RTA, IDOT, and it also will show you those that have already been input in here. PPS number. So let's say I wanted to add in an additional PPS number. I can do that, and then I could then go back to the programming tab and associate that new PPS number with a certain line item. All right, so we have all the different, and these are additionally, in the old eTIP, you could have different sections to sort of separate different funding line items that were maybe being at different times or kind of going at different times. You could separate them out into a section. You can also do that here with section header numbers. All right, we're going to hit save before we move on. Attachments. The attachment feature has been updated as well. You can use a handy drag and drop feature from, you just have your file folder open, you can just drag it over and it will then upload it. For example, I will drop one in here. Oh, sorry, have to hit edit. And this is a lesson for everyone. Hit edit, and then I will drop in my file. And you see it now uploaded in here. We want to set the document date. We can set it to whatever we want it to be, edit the description. You have to select a document type that is required. And then once you're done, hit Save Changes. You can also navigate the traditional way through your file folder. And now it's there. All right, moving on to revision history. Now, this is where you can see all the previous amendments or revisions of a particular project. We can see the current one that we just submitted, and we can see all the previous ones where it was carried forward, and we have a couple administrative and formal sprinkled in here. And you can actually go back and click on one of these to go into that version of the project if you would like. So let's say we want to go back into this formal amendment from, looks like 2019. We can now see we're working with this version of the TIP, 2020 to 2024. And we can see what the project looked like at that time. You can see that the completion year was changed. Some funding was changed. And you have a nice narrative there. So this can be handy when you're trying to look back and see what happened with a particular project. When you're ready to go back to your current project, hit this back arrow. And you can see now we're on the current version, the 2025 to 2029 version. And just as an aside, when you're in this platform, you want to only use this back arrow that's within the site. You don't want to use the back arrow on your web browser because that will totally kind of make you lose your place and kind of refresh everything. So just when you're trying to navigate between projects, just to use this back arrow. Okay, but let's go ahead and keep going. So we're on revision history. Next is project questions. Now these are questions pertaining to what's going on with the project. So you will want to go through here and answer all the ones that are relevant to your project. So all different types of project questions here. And when you're done, you'll hit save. And this little summary here allows you to see for every planned cycle, the questions that were answered for each of them. Now, scheduling info. This is where you can update, for example, your target letting. Let's say that you want to change the letting from 2024 to 2025 or something like that. That is where you would do that in here. And you can also update the implementation status and open to traffic date. All right. Now on to related projects. This is a kind of a new look compared to the old eTIP. If you hit edit, it will allow you to link projects to this current project. So you see it says select the relationship type from the drop-down menu. So if this project, was split from another project, you can do that. If it's related to, if it's a combination of, or was combined into, we can do that and then add the ID that it corresponds to and hit link, and it would link them together. So very nice if you have projects that are associated with each other and want to show that. All right, now let's go to the next tab, project delivery. I'm going to pull up a different tip ID that has it on so that we can see the project delivery tab. All right, so this is oh, let's actually go to the dashboard to click on one that does have it. All right. Okay, so we can see that the project delivery has milestones here on the left. Project scoping, phase 1, PE. And then we can set the date that each milestone occurred. And you can set it from the original date that it was expected to occur, and then when it actually was completed. And sometimes these might be the same, but a lot of the times they are different, and so it helps track that. And this, again, is sort of the new platform equivalent of the quarterly status updates that a lot of the project sponsors have to fill out every quarter. That was a spreadsheet, and now it's embedded into this platform. And so moving forward, that will be something that gets filled out directly in this platform. If a phase is not applicable, you just hit NA. and go through. A lot of these are categorized as being only highway or only transit. But again, you would go in here and update this every quarter, all the way down to ribbon cutting. So definitely a very handy feature. And when we're done, don't forget to hit save. All right. So we've gone through the different types of changes from amendment to update. We've also gone through how to submit an amendment, submit a project revision, and also recall it and unsubmit it. Now let's go to the new reporting tab. Revamped reporting feature. So this is what the reporting tab looks like. We have the new reports on the left. Now, all the names of these reports are not one-to-one. Some have been changed and reworded, but they do have a description, so you can see exactly what type of report it is if you're confused by some of the new names. You can also search for a report with this search feature, and they are also separated out and categorized. So you have project revision reports, summary reports, project delivery reports, and data export. Now, just to kind of categorize the different types of reports. So we have those that are lists of projects, which would be, for example, the project list report. This is going to generate based on the filters you select, which will go through the filters. It's going to generate a list of projects that meet that criteria. We then have those reports that are like one page per project. For example, the project overview report, which is going to generate a deep dive into one project. So it's going to tell you everything about that project, the location, the funding information, the schedule, all that stuff, revision history, it's all going to be on there. And then we have the summary reports. For example, the fiscal constraint summary. This is going to be a sort of summarized by fund, and then you can also click on a particular fund and sort of drill down into individual projects from there. So it sort of starts larger, and then you can also nail down and get more fine-tuned from there. So let's go through a couple examples and start to go through these report filters. So just like the project list filter on the projects tab, these report filters, you can save presets. If you fill out a bunch of these and get tired of setting all of these filters, you can hit save new filter preset and it will save that and you can come back to it quickly. Additionally, you want to get in the habit of doing clear all if you're running reports and you don't want to mix up and accidentally leave a filter on. But first things first, we'll select a plan cycle. I'm just going to select the current tip years, a plan revision. You can select historical ones too. You can select multiple plan cycles and plan revisions, which is nice. Review status. You can decide to include completed projects or not. You can include removed projects or not. You can include all project revisions. You can search for a particular ID. projects that contain a certain ID. And you can filter by lead agency. So let's just say I want to filter by council. Now you can do project type, municipality. You can select funding type if you want to filter all the projects that have a certain type of funding, and fiscal year, going all the way back to 1999. There are also several additional columns here and custom filters that you can add. These are very numerous, and I won't go through all of them, but I would encourage you to go through all of them. They have everything from certain staff names to dates to websites. So yeah, definitely go through on your own time, but you can get creative. Now I'm going to hit generate report because I really just want to look at all the Kane Kendall Council projects in the current plan revision. All right, so you see it generated about 9. We have the projects listed here. We have agency and all the information about that project. And then it gets into the funding type and the cost split out per year. And so I have 9 of these here. Now, let's say I want to view this in Excel. I can hit export. And you can see it exported a spreadsheet, which I can then open and manipulate how I want to. Let's go through and do another report. I want to select the program summary by fund report now. Now this program summary by fund, again, I want to do the current tip years, and I'm just going to again select a different agency. I'm going to do how about DuPage this time? All right, so this will let you see for DuPage every funding type that they have, and then it shows you for each fiscal year what their programmed amount is. So this is kind of like an overview. If you're just trying to, as a programmer, as a sponsor, trying to check, overall current status of your funding. But let's say I want to drill down in on one of these projects. Okay, I want to see what's going on with STP. It will now pull up all of the projects with STPL in DuPage County, DuPage Council. So you can see I have now 96 projects, and it has the funding information for each of the years. Now, let's say I'm doing some reviewing and I see, I want to click on one of these and look into it more. I can click on it, and now I'm on that project. And let's say I want to make an amendment and edit some of the funding on here. Well, I can go to amend project and maybe edit some of the STPL funding or edit accordingly. So you can really quickly go into a project and edit it from the reporting page. When I'm done, hit this back arrow. Now I'm back at the STPL summary and hit back once more. And now I'm at the entire program summary, the entire council summary. So again, this is one of the summary reports that is a good way to view an entire council's program and then drill down to it at the project level. All right, now let's try this fiscal constraint summary. And this lets you see the constraint status of different funding. Again, I'll do the current tip years. And for revenue scenario, you would have to select this, but that one looks to be not showing up right now, but that you would need to select a revenue scenario. These can be added in advance. But besides that, we're going to hit generate report, and it would generate that report. All right, so on that note, we have wrapped up session 2. We've looked at how to edit a project. We've looked at how to save and submit a project. And we've also looked at how to pull different reports and the new revamped reporting feature for eTIP. So on that note, we're going to wrap up, and you can consult any of the guidance on the new eTIP platform. Reach out to TIP staff at CMAP for any questions, and enjoy the new platform.